Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good day, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Black Belt Academy of Surgical Skills. My name is David O'Regan. I'm a retired cardiac surgeon and a professor in the Medical Education Research and Development Unit of the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Malaya. This evening, our production assistant, Dr. Apajita, in New Delhi, can't join us, so please bear with me as I admit people as we go along. But my fellow sensei, Chris Keddy, is there to generate conversation, interrupt, and ask you questions. And he will be joining Prof. Sile and other new sensei, Ardesh, at the end of the session to talk about what forceps are all about. We have had our first face-to-face grading session here in the Clinical Skills Unit in the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Malaya. And 6 students stepped up with their instruments and graded red belts. This is the first step in their journey to the black belt, which is going to take 16 months. It requires deliberate, purposeful practice, and we practice until we can't get it wrong, not until we get it right. And our new fellow sensei is a medical student in the Faculty of Medicine. Ardesh is on this evening, and I hope he can share some of his insights and wisdom, and I have to thank him for his enthusiasm and participation. Surgical tools have always been at the core of modern medicine. Among them, and the most ubiquitously used are the surgical forceps. They're used by the surgeon, the assistant, the scrub nurse, the second assistant, in both the right hand and the left hand. And it is necessary for the surgeon to be proficient using both hands. They're used to grasp, to hold, manipulate tissues and organs with precision during surgeries. What many don't know is that these instruments have a rich history of evolution. From simple rudimentary designs, this is moved on to highly specialized tools that we see today. And this progression has not only improved the safety and precision of surgery, but contributed to better surgical and patient outcomes. The important thing is we need to learn how to use them properly. But the history of surgical forceps reflects the evolution of surgery itself, from crude manual manipulation to refined precision-based techniques. Early forms of forceps can be traced back to ancient civilizations, including the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans, where simple gripping instruments were used to extract foreign bodies and assist in wound care. And the earliest known forceps, used by the Greeks and Romans, were used for grasping tissues as we do today, or the bigger ones, assisting in childbirth. And these early tools were often made of bronze or iron, but lacked the precision or durability we expect from modern instruments today. It was during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period that forceps designs became more specialized, particularly in obstetrics, with the development of childbirth forceps between the 16th and 17th centuries. The 19th century marked a major turning point with the rise of antiseptic surgery, and we have mentioned this before, Lister, and also led to the standardization of surgical instruments and the emergence of finely instrumented and forceps for tissue handling and entering the body. Because now we could sterilize them, we could enter the body, dissect, and use them for hemostasis. Today's forceps are available in a wide range of sizes, shapes, and designs, and many of them have got eponymous names. But essentially, they can be broken down into those with ratchets that hold and fix and grab and hold tissues, and those with a simple spring action that enable you to extend your fingers. And this development embodies centuries of innovation, and we end up with a modern forceps, which is an extension of the human hand and the fingers. And neurocognitive studies have demonstrated that whether you put a forceps in your hand or a finger, using them, your brain can't tell the difference after practice. And it literally then becomes an extension of your fingers. So modern surgical forceps are refined for tissue handling, precision and pickup, and hemostasis. And they were widely adopted, as we said, with anesthesia and antiseptic techniques. The important thing is how we actually hold the instrument itself. And for this, I want you to simply pinch your arm. Pinch your arm like that. There you go. That is a pinch force. And if you're pinching yourself like that, you are generating, on average, 30 newtons of force. And you see that the DIP joints are flexed. If I'm holding this, 2 bits of putty, all right, and I'm pinching there, quite easily squeeze it. Now I want you to pinch yourself with an extended DIP joint and pinch as hard as you can. And if I do that with a bit of putty, there you go, I'm pinching as hard as I can. Compare and contrast. All right, dominant hand, right hand, trying to pinch with an extended DIP joint. That is hard, whereas that is very easy. And the reason for that is these muscles here. Those are the deepest and biggest muscles of the forearm, and those of the older generation will recognize they are the Popeye muscles, or the flexor digitorum profundus and the flexor pollicis longus. They enable you to bend your fingers like that, and enables Tom Cruise to hang off helicopters in Mission Impossible. That's not the grip we require in surgery. Likewise, the thumb being bent, I use, and it's tradition in Iaido, that your thumb is on the suba. That means that if anybody grabs the sword, they can't pull it out because your thumb is so strong, you could hold it against a full body weight withdrawal from an opponent. These are not the muscles that you need in surgery. And we need to extend our hands, our fingers, like that. Imagine Kermit the Frog. And we place our forceps between the first dorsal interossei, cradling it on the middle finger and gently bringing your fingers to the instrument. That there is the most sophisticated grip of hominids. It differentiates you from the apes. It brings the palp of the finger and the palp of the thumb together. Try picking up a little bit of salt or sugar. You can feel each and every grain between the palps of your fingers, and you have more information from a neurological perspective going to the brain from the palps of your fingers than you have from the eye to the brain. You literally are feeling the environment around you, and that is that grip there. And it's a simple principle by way of use of all surgical instruments is think how you can maximize the palp of your fingers and the feel, because surgery and forceps in particular is all about feel. So if you think about pinching, as you did there, and that pinch pressure there, you have got a force of 30 newtons. And if we take the tip of this forceps of approximately 5 millimeters squared, pressure is force over area. That's 30 newtons over 5 millimeters squared. Now, what's interesting, when I ask the students, do some mathematics for you, they come out with 5. But the units of pressure are Newton meters squared, and 5 millimeters squared is 5 times 10 to the minus 6 meters squared. So that's 30 newtons over 5 times 10 to the minus 6 will equal 6 million Newton meters squared. That is 6,000 kilopascals, 870 psi, and that is equivalent to 29 times your car tire pressure. So you can imagine the pressure generated on the end of your forceps, and they're lethal instruments, because I have just used this to pick up, without pressing hard, the skin of this banana. And we use the banana because the density of the banana is akin to human tissue, between 40 and 80 Hounsfield units. A suture pad has the Hounsfield units of 240, and no matter how hard you grab it, you will not damage it. But look at this, and you will see just underneath the edge. And to reinforce, we should not use forceps to pick up the skin. We should use the skin hook, which you can see the blackened area, full thickness, crush injury by the forceps, and the 2 little rat's teeth of the Adson's neurological forceps, and even the non-crushing forceps. There you've got a line as well. Just imagine applying your forceps without due care and attention to the bowel. You'd have mucosal massacre, and you apply that to a vessel, and you'll have endothelial cell genocide. The problem is, when learning and using the forceps, as we'll demonstrate in a model going on, that you're so focused on your dominant hand, we often forget what is happening with a non-dominant hand. And the 2 other professions that I can think of where you have to work the hands independently, obviously musicians, piano players, drummers, and helicopter pilots. All of them have to move their hands differently. And I'm sure you can name many other situations where the right hand and left hand have to work together. The hands in surgery have to complement each other. They don't do the same job. And that is very true in surgery. And for a surgeon operating, your assistant usually has got at least 1 forceps in the hand or holding the suture, or if you're dissecting and using scissors, the assistant should hold forceps in both hands and provide the necessary counter-traction to facilitate dissection. So how do we practice, and how can we use our skills in surgery and refine them? So I'm going to take you through some of the low fidelity models that we use, and I can assure you that all of these models will go into recipes in cooking. So I'm putting this as a plug for sustainable surgery. The first one, for accuracy and precision, is very simply put some rice in a dish and arrange, and you can use different types of straws, arrange straws around a little tub of rice. And the idea is to take the rice, and if we focus down even further, you'll see the length of this rice is larger than the diameter of the straw. So you need to be able to pick it up and drop it in. And this is a competition we ran at the Association of Surgeons in Training. We asked people to take 8 grains of rice, drop them in straws. If you drop the rice, you're out. And I think, and Sensei Chris on the line will remind us, that the winner was able to do this 8 grains of rice and 4 straws, I think, in 15.4 seconds. That's not the point. That was fun and a competition. The point is that you should be able to pick up with accuracy and precision and place the rice appropriately in each of the straws. Now, it's useful when in this practice, and as I'm demonstrating here, do it with both hands, because you need to be able to practice and do this with both hands. You can use any type of seed or material that you can think of. And I'm going to have here, I love this bit, this is an arrangement of coriander seeds. Oh, why is this thing running on the plate? Coriander seeds, pepper seeds, mustard seeds, and fennel seeds. And again, these are round, hard objects. And if you grab them too hard, they'll go skidding away. Charoliers in Italy has put together a fabulous metronome and sound for you to practice this, and will be available on our app, which will be coming out shortly, for you to practice these skills. But you can turn this into a game. Call out pepper, coriander, mustard, call out the color, and challenge your fellow training surgeon to pick up the appropriate one and drop them in. You can see as they're hard, if I was trying to actually chase it round, you can chase it round the table, the dish. And if you grab it hard, that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to run away. So the secret of forceps is literally lightness of touch. You don't have to grab hard at all. Because if you look at this, even with a non-tooth forceps, we have a row of small fine teeth that side, interdigitating with a single row of fine teeth the other side. And these are the forceps that are DeBakey's forceps. Dent and Cooley, who's the senior registrar, and they fell out and were arch enemies for many years, came up with Cooley forceps where he had 3 and 2, much the same, as opposed to these forceps, tooth forceps. You can see here we have a large tooth on one side, a spike almost, it's quite sore, interdigitating with 2 incisors the other side. Would you believe it that a neurosurgeon invented these? It wasn't to pick the brain, but think that the dura itself is a thick fascial layer, and that is excellent for holding a thick fascial layer. That's all very good, but what you do with wet tissues, because we're not going to come across dry tissues like this. So as we explore in the Black Belt Academy our various options, think of all the fruits and seeds that you come across that would lend themselves for these forceps skills. And the first one I think of is obviously our tomato. Let's cut this in half. And hello, what do we have inside for practice? Seeds. Now, is this like picking foreign body out of wounds or glass? You can see now there's another element to this, because they're sticky, you can't grab them, but there's seeds nonetheless. And it's a lovely way of practicing how to retrieve foreign bodies from materials. Let's cut up a little further. There you go. 3 seeds there. Just imagine this, you'd spotted some dirt in the wound. And trying to retrieve them without much in the way of tissue around them is actually difficult. It's stuck. This is just like debridement of a wound, a dirty wound that you see in casualty. Any fruit or any material that has got seeds offers the same fidelity. I recognize this, and I challenge you all. Why don't you find a fruit yourself to actually bring along and send us pictures? Passion fruit, wonderful. Passion fruit, very similar to a tomato in that we have seeds and flesh and different sizes, but a good opportunity to practice pick out the seeds. You might want to do this on a watermelon, where the seeds come out cleaner and don't carry the tissues. My point is made. You can practice your pickup on dry seeds and wet seeds just by looking around this supermarket. And Lawrence is the manager of Jaya Supermarket downstairs. Often looks at my basket and he says, David, what are you operating on this evening? And it brings a smile to his face. Obviously, we also need to be able to do this at depth. And as we've seen this model before, is your capsicum or red pepper. Cut it off, cut a little bit further off, but here we're peering down into the pepper through the tissues, and now we have to reach inside and pick off these little seeds carefully from the inside. There you go. To make it difficult, put some straws outside and pick them off with your right hand and left hand and remove the seeds. You can include this as part of your cooking and preparation recipes and de-seeding. Open up a chili. The chili seeds add the heat. So if you wish to practice and put chili in your food, remove the seeds, open it, take a forceps out and start taking the seeds out of the chili. Be a little time consuming perhaps, but you're combining cooking, good food, and good practice all in one. Maybe we should do surgical recipes in the Black Belt Academy for food preparation. But what I wanted to do is stimulate your thinking. And when you walk around the supermarket next time, please look at what's there and decide how you're going to use it. I was looking at the bunches of flowers this evening. They looked a little bit tired, but they were 5 times more expensive than buying a pepper. But taking a flower and peeling the petals off, because the petals were very susceptible, just as you see in the banana, to heaviness with the forceps. These models are engaging and fun, and if I'm not careful, I could spend the next 15 minutes patiently playing with this, picking out the seeds. I often peer down this and think it's very much like a nasal cavity, really. And picking out seeds at depth. There you go. Sujaya, no, sorry, it was Surah in Baghdad, came up with this solution, which I thought was ingenious. Forceps are also used to peel tissues off. So I've got a boiled new potato here, and I'm going to see if I can actually gently peel the skin off. Again, organic material. Very thin and friable. And you need to be able to pull it off in strips without actually damaging the potato underneath. Because as if I was heavy-handed, you can see that I've got potato on my forceps. A giveaway. Can you pick up the edge without actually picking up the potato? The forceps can be used as a blunt tool to tease and develop the plane if necessary, to help your dissection. Supporting, probing, developing, but never stabbing, because it's so easy in any soft tissue, inflammatory tissue, to put your needle, put your forceps straight through the tissue and cause damage. Forceps are also very useful if you're wanting to cut a suture. To hold the forceps, particularly if you're an assistant and you've got a bit of a shake initially, hopefully with practice you lose that, you can use your forceps as a fob. Place it there, place your scissors on top of the forceps, open up just necessary to cut a suture, cut the suture and withdraw. You're not doing that. This is a controlled process as a beginning assistant to support your scissors, cut the and withdraw. Many tissues offer you the opportunity for practicing. Just look at this, boiled tomato. Wow, this is wound dressing. This is burned skin. Can you peel the skin off the tomato without it breaking? So as you walk around the supermarket, I'm asking you to have a look at what is available and what could you use to practice. This tomato skin is somewhat thicker than the potato skin, and I probably should have done it first, but you can appreciate this is not too dissimilar to a dressing. And if you start pulling it, it still tears, you see? And what you want to be able to do is gently, gently take it off. Using a combination of just gentle traction, gentle teasing, and probing. All of these, I personally find, are engaging models and rather fun. And those of you who've just graded as red belts, many congratulations, but these are the skills that we're going to be asking you to do later on as you get towards your purple and brown belts. But there's no reason for you not to practice now. But do not jump the gun without going through the deliberate stages of practice at each of these levels. I did wonder as I went around the supermarket, and I've never tried this before, and this is the thing about live TV, so to speak, is what does corn on the cob offer me? Am I able to actually tease these out? And, oh, see, there you go. You can't just grab it, can you? Because as you grab it, it breaks. And I haven't tried this one before, so I was thinking, oh, how do I actually tackle this? So I then thought, well, okay, maybe I have to use this as a separation tool. A bit like using a tangerine. And I've seen on social media robots dissecting out corn as well. Gently hold that, can actually develop it underneath and take it out whole without crushing. Just think of all these little sweet corns that you could use in your practice to develop your skills. Now, they've got a robot doing this for endoscopic and robotic surgery, and I can see that it's a fantastic way of practicing. But why leave it for a robot? Can we not do it ourselves and use it as part of our practice? You see, I'm teasing this out with my forceps and nibbling it out. As I'm holding it, I'm not grabbing it, because if I grab it, there you go. It's out of picture. You should shout,
David,
it's out of picture.
David, the
Yeah.
question's been asked, is the corn cooked?
Oh
Because
yes, this is well and truly cooked. All
the
right.
feeling is that this is very context dependent.
Yeah.
How and for how long have you cooked it?
I have actually cooked this more than you would for al dente eating, so it is actually soft, and I've just left it in there for 20 minutes or half an hour. So it is actually extreme. Each of these kernels is very soft indeed. So if I grab it hard, it will crush. And I want to be able to take out each of these intact. You do that, there you go, crushed. And that with very little force, I've crushed it. So I've said that forceps need to be used with each other. And it's the last time, and I've described to our candidates on Saturday what we're going to introduce, and I found last time, is a plate of cooked spaghetti. There you go. Let's admit somebody. Welcome, Hazik. Welcome, Hazik. You've just entered as we are doing the ultimate test. There you go. Cooked spaghetti. Really cooked. I am going to lift out one of these. And leave a bit of water on the plate because it just makes it a little easier. And just to prove to you that this is well and truly cooked, you can see there, cut, cut, cut with the forceps. So the forceps cuts undamaged tissue. Let's go autofocus, come down a little bit. And as I said last time, and these are short lengths of spaghetti, it is very, very well cooked. This has been in the pot for as long as the corn and the cob is done. So there's a technique for doing this, but I'm not grabbing grabbing the tissue. So fold it over, all right? I'm going to lift that side up and pass it through the loop as you tie a knot. First one's pretty good. Then one needs to gently, gently take it down and tie it to give yourself enough tissue, enough length either side to repeat the exercise. There you go. I'm not going to be able to get it any more than that without it breaking. Pick up again and fold the side over. Put that there. And I know Mr. Caddy's looking at this saying, is this going to be a reef knot? And as I thought that, I've just lost. Have I got right over left or left over right?
How did you guess what I was thinking?
I could feel it, Sensei. I could feel it. I could feel it. There you go, reef knot. In doing that, I lost that little bit. Now, the challenge with the spaghetti is I got to get that as tight as I can to actually try and get my third length on here. And this is becoming now quite a challenge. It's a question of how about that? Sensei Caddy, no round of applause.
I'm sending the hearts up so you can see them.
There
Wow.
you go.
Congratulations,
All
Prof.
right.
Well
So to
done.
prove to you watching that this is not a cheating exercise. Watch this.
Now you're just showing off.
Okay? That's not a cheating exercise. That is well-cooked spaghetti. But what I love about this exercise, it is so simple, but fiendishly difficult. And it requires some thought about how you organize your pool, how you organize the length, and you cannot grasp the spaghetti hard whatsoever. Even the finest forceps you've got are actually your fingers. And certainly for holding the Longifinus vein and Sile at the Silent Mentor on Friday, we held the first cardiac conference and we did coronary artery bypass grafts on our mentors. It was a fabulous day.
I missed that, bro.
I
So sad.
appreciate you did, but we had lots of fun. Yeah. So we have introduced this exercise, to be honest, as the black belt exercise for forceps skill. You see that? Just caught it and it broke. So you've got to be very, very careful. A little bit of water on the plate is helpful. If you pull it too hard, it breaks. So you've got to feel the resistance of the spaghetti as you're trying to do this. Going to be difficult now because I've got a short end there.
But David, what are you noticing about the way you're performing this?
What am I noticing?
Yeah.
I'm making a tapping sound with my forceps, but I am actually using the tissues and I am not actually closing. If you're looking at it, my forceps are not actually closing at any stage. What are you noticing, Sensei?
Well, it was getting quicker and easier, and now you're struggling.
Well, it's struggling because it's a short end.
Yeah.
The point
But
is,
that's
there you
situational
go.
awareness.
And the short end, you see, as
Yeah.
I try to force it there, it breaks.
Yeah.
So the thing is about this exercise, you have to think about the length you're using, because when it gets very short, it's very difficult to do this. See that? There, and it just breaks. So we did 3, did a 2, but I ended up with one side too short for me to actually fold over and to complete the third. But I ask you to try that yourself at home as an exercise, because that's all that forceps are. And the forceps really, I suppose, would go in my basket as the best instruments to actually test your surgical skill and your ability to feel. Now, there's one other thing that I need to demonstrate as part of this to show you the major problem that people have when stitching or operating. So we're going to come back over to my model, and you'll recognize this is the Black Belt Academy stitching exercise. But this stitching exercise is now with a difference. What I've actually done is placed a staple in the banana at regular intervals. And as I do this stitching exercise, okay, I need to be able to hold the staple and now not only think about my place point rotate, as we've covered before in stitching. But as I do this, I need to hold the staple and not use it to deliver my needle. And as I move around, you can see if I take this, the common problem when people are thinking about stitching is that you either grip too tightly or drifts or drags and you're pulling the tissue out. So this is a lateral hold with your forceps as you're focusing on delivering your needle through the tissue. And as you come round, stitching in each of these gaps, I want you to think not only of what your forceps are doing, but what your needle's doing as well. Because now we are starting to operate on tissue and organic tissue that is going to give you immediate feedback. And I know Sensei Caddy is watching this banana very carefully and is watching if I touch the flesh on the inside, which is part and parcel of requirement.
No pressure, David.
No. I am getting used to this. This is getting fun. This is doing this with an expert watching every time. He gives me more than candid feedback on this. Okay. So I'm actually holding each of these staples. And if I'm not holding it correctly, there you go. It pulls out. All right. I've pulled it out to demonstrate to you that I have not actually glued them in the banana and I'm not cheating in this process. That my forceps are working and doing a different job to my needle. And in this position, I'm stitching away. As you remember, I'm probably best now going to my left foot, forehand, and coming back to the position to where I was. And there you go. So combining the staples is now getting me to think not only with my forceps, but the stitching. Now, many of our exercises on stitching in the Black Belt Academy ask you to stitch with your non-dominant hand behind your back. And we do that for a number of reasons. We do that to emphasize posture, that we don't teach surgeons to stand properly. You have to stand with the lumbar lordosis maintained. You've got to keep your chin in. You mustn't lean forward. That's why we do it. But what's interesting, every time I've done this exercise in training with trainees, and you get them stitching, and they manage the needle with perfect rotation and pickup, as soon as you put the forceps in, it all goes to pot, because now they have to think of two hands. But this exercise, putting the staples in the banana, is forcing you to do exactly that. Because the problem is, when you're focusing on your right hand and stitching, you are drifting, dragging, and grabbing with the opposite hand. As I said, you have to work interdependently. And that hold, as you see here, my fingers, maximum area on my fingers, on forceps, and maximum surface area of the palms of my fingers on the needle holder. And between the two, these are now connected to my brain through the palms of my fingers. And I feel the tissues. The organic models we're giving you here this evening differentiate between rough and smooth. And the one thing that's interesting in the OSAT scores that have been used since 1997 around the world to grade people on objective structured assessment of technical skills, OSATs, they talk of lightness of touch. Well, how can you see lightness of touch? What are you looking for? So the first thing you can do when you pinch your fingers together, you see my fingernails are blanched. Yeah? You see my fingernails are blanched there. Okay? And when you see blanching of your fingernails there, that's not feel, that's pressure. See there? Pink fingernail. Press, blanching fingernail, pink fingernail. And I can see that underneath the glove, a surgical glove, blanching, etc. When you press, you're holding an instrument and holding it tightly. There, you can see my skin blanching. Yeah, that's pressure. That's gripping the instrument. And that's the thing. I believe you can see lightness of touch, but I do wonder how many surgical trainers are actually looking for that blanching, or actually looking at the blanching. When you grip, you see your knuckles blanch as well. Otherwise, it becomes subjective. But these models, organic models that we are using in the Black Belt Academy, do test lightness of touch. The corn on the cob crushes. You break the skin of the potato. The seeds go scattering all over. And of course, and lastly, you will not be able to tie a knot in spaghetti. So with that, I'd like to ask my fellow senseis, Chris Cuddy and Prof. Sile, to join the conversation, and our new sensei, Ardesh, who got his red belt in technical skills on Saturday. So do join the conversation, ask any questions, and very interested to hear your thoughts. But I particularly want to see pictures from you of your models. Sura in Baghdad offered the potato skin, and I think it's lovely. I think it's really wonderful because the skin itself is wafer thin.
What I'd like to do is to hear from Ardash, because he's most recently been exposed to the whole process. So Ardash, tell us about Saturday's grading.
All right. Good. Well, for me, it's night over here. But good day to all of you. My name is Adash Ramanathan. I'm a third-year medical student here in University Malaya. And okay, about Saturday's grading, I think it went really well. It was my first time getting graded. So I think it was close to a 2 hour, 3 hour session, and we were graded on different skills: knot tying, suturing, positioning, assisting during surgery. What else is there? Forceps skills, knife skills. Yeah, we were graded on all those. And I think there was about around 6 of us. Yeah, 6 of us who were graded.
So what did you think of the forceps skills?
Okay, honestly, I think I should take it from the start. Before I even had any exposure towards forceps skills, all I saw was, I mean, during my surgical rotations, I saw the way everyone held their forceps and they were really squeezing it. They were really using a pincer grip. And I thought that was pretty much the normal until Prof. David came and then explained it, taught me the physics of it, of why it was a really bad idea to hold it with a pincer grip and how much of tissue damage it can cause. So I think that the session that you're having today and the multiple mini lectures you gave me in the past, I think it's really useful, and it's something that all of us, medical students, housemen, everyone should be aware of on the right way to hold the forceps.
Yeah, of course, the other way.
I'm sorry if the lighting is pretty bad. I'm actually not in my room.
Good.
Outside.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
That's obviously a background picture. But the other thing that people are holding forceps like that, and holding forceps like that, and holding it like that. That hasn't got control. That's for flipping burgers and Burger King. That is a salad server. All right. That is forceps.
I think the main problem is when you're stressed, you're not exactly aware of what your non-dominant hand is doing. So you would just do whatever you can do to get the job done, as long as you make it past the finish line.
But you're not aware of how you're actually holding the instruments. And this is about getting you to stop and think specifically about that one move and how you're going to achieve it. It's deconstructing everything that you do in the operating room.
Yeah. I think it's a lot about self-awareness in the end.
Well, it doesn't happen just like that, does it? And to be honest, now, Adesh, I think you're looking around and you're seeing it all around you, aren't you?
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest, I think if you start looking at the pictures on the basic surgical skills courses, when you've done basic surgical skills, has anybody ever gone around and picked you up on how you hold needles, needle holders and instruments?
No, honestly, here we are more interested in learning different types of sutures. Simple interrupted, simple continuous, mattress
Yeah.
suture. We are more interested in that more than the right way to hold the needle,
Mm,
to make those bites, hold your forceps.
mm.
Oh, yeah. And we are still very heavily dependent on skin pads.
Yes. So how do you think the banana compares?
Well, the banana is much more better. Like you said, same tactile feedback. You get instant feedback. It's unforgiving, lah, in a word. In a simple word, it's unforgiving. You get
Is that a
instant
good thing
feedback.
or bad thing?
I think that's a good thing. And I'm really glad that you managed to catch on to my bad habits this early, because I just started clinical exposure.
Right.
So I don't think that I really have to deconstruct my previous surgical skills, because I don't think it was ever fully developed in the first place.
Well, that's interesting you say that about bad habits because during the 15 years of my training, I can only think of two surgeons who actually picked me up on how to hold the instrument. Mr. Southwood said, "You're not going to do a Ramstead procedure until you can cut the skin perpendicularly and I'll break and slice it. You hold the knife like a knife." And and uh, the forceps, somebody pointed that out to me as well. What's interesting that in martial arts, in the Aido, the first thing you learn is how to hold and move the sword properly. And although I'm second dan from the UK, I learned just the movements and the katas, but not the nuances and how you move and transfer your weight from one foot to another. And Sensei Kadi will talk about his Tai Chi experience. I've had to unlearn all the bad habits that I picked up learning my second bout with the katana. Whereas my son started at the Japan Club here when I started, and he's been taught correctly. He's already at black belt level, if not second dan. But because of his yoga, his fitness, his flexibility, his technique is really refined because it's been drummed into him from the very beginning. And I think your point is correct, Adesh, is that if we don't address technique in the very beginning, then it's going to be very difficult to unlearn bad habits. Your thoughts, Sensei Kadi?
Well, I completely agree with you. So watching people, you learn as much from your students as you do from yourself. But there's an old adage: when the student is ready, the master will appear. So Adesh, you don't have to go to the school of unlearning, which David and I have been through. You can learn it right from the beginning and build on that. So it's an opportunity that has arisen for you. Make the most of it.
He is.
Uh,
He's
he is. Well,
enthusiastic.
Absolutely. But
And
you're
that's why
encouraging him.
I,
Yeah.
I welcome him to the Black Belt Academy. And Adesh, you're welcome to join the conversation every time. Prof. Sile, your observations, forceps.
Thank Hello, Prof. Yeah, I really want to warmly welcome Adesh. Also, is being as a medical student and with showing his interest in a very early stage. And thank you very much, Adesh, for sharing your thoughts and all that. And I'm very glad today also is I think some of my Bruneian students, I think Arif, say hello. I think Arif is from Brunei, Arif Junaidi, and then also Nur Amalina, I think. I think two of them from Brunei.
Wonderful.
Yes, I hope they are, we all inspiring them, and then hope one day they can join, that for the surgical skills training. I think they are the first time here. And I would like to encourage them to keep joining in the other sessions as well. My contribution today is that because when you mentioned, when I first read this description of this, today, and then I say it's like the feel, then I was catch the word the feel. Yes, exactly. But what I would like to feel is the ureter, Prof.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Thank you for
Yes.
grounding us. Thank you.
Sure, Prof. Yeah. The ureter is it is the good friend of the gynecologists as well and friends of everyone. The surgeons, we should not injure the ureter. So during the silent mental, I can demonstrate where the ureter is, but the student cannot appreciate the peristalsis.
Mm.
So we should, I
The
think we
only
should
white thing on the posterior abdominal
yes,
wall, when you gently
sure.
touch it with a forceps, it gives a wriggle.
Yes, peristalsis.
And there are
Yeah,
also some fine vessels over it as well. So when you look
sure.
at
All
it,
right.
that's how you identify the ureter.
Yeah. Can I just use of the forceps, in with the dissection with the ureter, and once you hold the what you call it, the sharp, non-tooth or the pointed one, and then the assistant or the nurse, they will just automatically, they thought that they is going to burst, So it's like we have to stop them, okay, and we ourselves also not to use this sharp tooth or non-tooth forceps. This is what my teacher, Prof. Siva, taught me, is that it says always use the blunt and non-heavy, non-tooth forceps. It is a blunt debaki forceps, with the very, the minimal use of the force with the in a pinching. So in fact, we could ourselves can practice our fingers how to to feel the ureter. It is different from the vessels, different from artery, and different from vein, and different from the nerve and tendon. How the exactly the ureter like. I think so during myself as a trainee, this is how my teachers taught me, how to recognize the ureter and think first before you cut any structures during the surgery. Then it could be ureter. Then we have to keep reminding. If you transected the ureter, that is the nightmare for you.
Absolutely.
So, before you cut any tissue in the pelvis and think about the structure, whether it could be the ureter or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you say, the best forceps you have are your fingers. Do get a bit of salt between your fingers. I think you can feel down to 1 or 2 grains. And
Yes, Prof. Yeah.
it's that's required when you feel the tissues. And that's what you forget. And that's when you can feel the difference between the density of tissues that you're dissecting.
So I am thinking about that. What sort of the structures in the supermarket or in our kitchen? This is feel like ureter. Is that I think the Malaysian student will know. Is asam laksa. Whether Ardesh, can you recall or not the noodle, like a Korean udon or a Malaysian
Yeah.
asam
Assam
laksa?
laksa, it's a Malaysian favorite.
Yeah.
Yes, laksa, asam laksa, yeah.
Mhm.
So this noodle is really look like is a ureter, but there is no peristalsis.
Perhaps Des, you can bring some into one day on Friday and can have a look at that and introduce it. But I invite all our audience to go around your supermarket and just have a look at the organic materials because they are the best things to practice on. And the models that we offer in the Black Belt Academy are not easy. They're there to be difficult. But that's what we should be training on, is difficult. Training on models that give you feedback when you use excessive force, excessive tissue, excessive pressure, and excessive rotation. Any questions from the audience? Any closing statements from Sensei Kadi? He's gone.
No. No, he's right here. Once again, marvelous session. Thank you very much. You've brought lots of things to the front.
And thank you, Ardesh, and welcome as the Sensei to the Black Belt Academy. Thank you, Prof. Sile. Thank you, Chris. And we will continue next week with assisting. I think it will be the last time my son will be joining us in the Black Belt Academy for a while as he goes off in his gap year and travels to China and the Amazon jungle. But we'll be talking about the principles of assisting. And the thing about surgery, you cannot do it alone. You need at least an assistant. But in cardiac surgery, I've got 11 other people in theatre. That is a whole different level of surgical understanding of nerves. But it's a bit like driving a car. In the paper that I wrote with John Rudd, who is one of our most loyal audience, and on this evening, good evening, John, we were thinking about driving. You can't practice situational awareness if you're struggling with a clutch in the gear change. Why not get your technical skills up to Black Belt Academy standard? And that means when you hit theatres, you can then focus on the nuances of crew resource management, error mitigation, situational awareness, non-operative technical skills. And the word that we also use in martial arts that I think applies aptly to surgery is Zanshin. With that,
David, the problem is this. People are taught to pass an exam
yes,
to drive.
yes,
They're not taught how to drive.
exactly.
And there is a great difference. And that is what the Black Belt Academy is teaching people,
Is
is
how.
how.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to add to
And
the audience,
it makes all the difference in the world.
just to tell the
I
audience.
mean, there are people I know, I wouldn't let them see a blind dog across a zebra crossing, let alone drive a vehicle.
So Dr. Rudd actually got his advanced driving test at the age of 82, I think. And he loves driving. The parallels are there in everyday life. So thank you very much indeed to everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week. We wish you well. I'm going to stop the recording.